Hey everybody, it's Monika and welcome to my channel where I help social workers, counselors, and helping professionals deepen their level of self-awareness while increasing their competence and confidence in the profession. Now, even though we're in the midst of a pandemic, a lot of you are still having to go out and do home visits. So for today's video, we're going to be talking about 6 ways to keep yourself safe when you're conducting a home visit. So if you're interested in this video, then please keep watching. I'm Monika Thomas, the founder and clinical social worker at Kindred Connections Therapy Center. I've been a social worker for over 12 years. I decided to do an entire YouTube channel on my journey from cubicle working social worker to successful entrepreneur. Welcome to my channel. One of the most commonly known positions where social workers oftentimes conduct home visits is through CPS or Child Protective Services. But what a lot of you may come to realize is when you're entering into the profession, there are a lot of other positions that you'll be required to conduct home visits. So a few of those positions would be not just CPS, but also if you worked with a domestic violence shelter, you might be required to. When I worked for the Head Start program, I was responsible for going out and conducting home visits to make sure that parents were getting their children prepared for kindergarten. If you work as a school social worker, you'll also be required to do home visits. And also when I worked as a functional family therapist, I was responsible for going into the home and conducting about an hour and a half long family-based visit. Also, if you live in an area that has a program like Help Me Grow or Infant Readiness Program, or a program that works with parents to help give them parenting skills and to learn what to do with their young child, you'll also have to do home visits for those positions as well. So know when you're getting into the social work field, you want to know if home visits are a requirement of your job description. So let's go ahead and get into the 6 steps for keeping yourself safe. And just know in general that the social work profession comes with a high level of risk. We're working with clients who are in crisis. We're working with clients who are going through extreme transitions in their lives. They will have a lot of anger, sometimes a lot of anxiety and a lot of fears. And you'll have to learn how to help families manage that. So because there can be a high level of risk, you always have to be on guard because things can happen very quickly in a short amount of time. 2 other things that I think are important to note before we get into the 6 ways to keep yourself safe is 1, it's going to be totally normal for you to have some level of anxiety and fear when you're going into a new environment. That's our body's way of keeping us safe. So that natural feeling of being nervous and not knowing what to expect, that's going to come up. So make sure that you're patient with yourself, that you're giving yourself grace, and that you're learning how to manage that anxiety when you're going into these new environments. The second thing to keep in mind is that the neighborhoods and the communities and the apartment complexes that you're going into, these are communities that our families are living in every single day. So even though you might fear for your safety, know that our families are coming in and out of these communities every day. And although they might know some of the people who live in the community and you're new, you want to make sure that you manage any thoughts and feelings or any type of judgment that comes up as it relates to how our families live and where they live. Because our definition of safety might be different from what our family's definition of safety is. And it doesn't mean that we can't bring them along to help them understand what a safe environment is for a child or for themselves. But we also have to know that because families are living in these environments every day, what you deem as unsafe, they might not deem as unsafe. And the reason why that's so important is because conversations around safety come up when you're scheduling the visit. And you don't want to give the client the impression that you're somehow demeaning them or looking down on them for where they live or the degree to which they've been able to provide a safe environment for themselves and for their children. Now, these 6 things are in no particular order. It's just 6 things that you want to be mindful of. As you progress in the field, you want to continue adding to the list. You might find that you get into certain situations where you didn't think about certain things or where you didn't prepare, where you didn't have a lot of time to prepare. Just be patient with yourself and know that you're going to make mistakes along the way. And don't be hard on yourself if you fail to do something that you know you should have done. Now, in some particular positions, that risk of making a wrong decision can be very high. So if you're always maintaining some type of safety checklist, then it will alleviate the amount of unsafe situations that you find yourself in. Hey everybody, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, or share it. Also, be sure to click the notification bell because I upload a new video every Monday. And make sure you check out the Afrocentric Social Worker podcast. You can check that out on all the major podcasting platforms. The link to the podcast can be found below in the description. So number one, you want to be organized and you want to plan out your day. Now you can do this days in advance, you can do this weeks in advance, but you want to know the home that you're going to, the address, if it is an apartment, if it's a house, what floor is the apartment on, if you have to go upstairs or an elevator. You want to know as much about the neighborhood as possible before you schedule the visit. That would include driving the neighborhood, it would include talking to your client, or it could include talking to other coworkers who visited the neighborhood before. So along with planning your day, you want to make sure that your supervisor knows where you're going and around what time you plan to be there. And you also want to make sure that you have all your files and paperwork when you go to the home, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And for some of the neighborhoods and apartment complexes that you visit, a lot of times there's only one way in and one way out. So make sure you're scouting the neighborhood so you know your way around just in case you have to leave quickly. In addition to planning out your day when you know that your home visit is scheduled, 2, you want to wear the appropriate clothes. Just know that you're going to have to manage your own thoughts and feelings around what safety looks like. So you'll have to determine if you can wear jeans, if you can wear sweats. I don't recommend wearing high heels when you're going to a home visit, especially if it's your first visit. Some visits you might be sitting on the floor with a baby or a client. So you want to make sure that what you wear is appropriate for the work that you're going to be doing that day. Or if you don't know what you're going to be stepping into, you want to wear something that is comfortable and something that won't make it difficult for you to get out quickly if you need to. Number 3 is to make sure that your phone is charged. So you want to make sure that all the relevant contacts are in your phone before you leave. And you want to make sure that even though your phone is charged, that you keep it put up because you don't want to be walking to the client's house with your phone in your hand. You want it to be handy if you need to use it, but you don't want to walk with it in your hand. So again, going back to wearing the appropriate clothes, if you're going to wear a jacket, make sure that you have a jacket with deep pockets so that the phone doesn't come out. Or if you have a bag, make sure that you have a zipper where you can place your phone so it doesn't fall out. Number 4 goes along with being organized is to make sure that you keep all of your files in your bag. I made the mistake early in my career when I was working in the field. I would go up to a client's house with a handful of papers. They were organized, but I would have them in my hand that I would be carrying up to the house. And the reason why you don't want to do that is 1, because it contains the client's confidential information and you don't want to drop it or have it fly away. And then the second thing is you want to make sure that your hands are free. You don't want anything in your hands when you're walking up to the home. So make sure that you have a good binder or a good notebook or organizational system so you can get to the papers that you need, especially if there are certain papers that need to be completed when you go to the home. Make sure you have all those papers organized in order. If you can highlight certain places where clients need to sign, or if you can put little Post-its or stickies, that makes it a lot easier so you're not fumbling around with a lot of papers. But I wouldn't recommend having any of that in your hand when you're walking up to the home. Most times when you're conducting your home visit, you'll often be going by yourself. But when I worked at the Head Start program, sometimes when I did home visits, I would tag along with the teacher. So for number 5 is to go in pairs. If there's a coworker who can go along with you, if that would help you feel more safe, then you can coordinate your schedule with them so that they can go along with you on the visit. Also, when you're just starting out, it's typically customary for a new worker to go out in the field with a more seasoned worker. So that's possibly going to happen for you anyway when you're first starting out into the field. But just know when you're starting out, there might not be any point at the beginning where you feel comfortable going out by yourself, but it's definitely going to be something that you're going to have to do so you can gain the confidence of being comfortable going out on your own eventually. And if you can't go out in pairs, make sure you trust your gut and trust your intuition. If something feels off or if something feels too risky or it doesn't feel like it's a good time for you to go, make sure you trust that and don't try to be a superhero and go into the environment anyway. You can always reschedule and get the information that you need another time and another day. And number 6 is to be mindful of your positioning. That means your positioning when you're pulling up to the home, your positioning when you're inside the home, and your positioning when you're leaving the home. Meaning when you're sitting in your car, if you decide that you want to do notes in your car or if you want to do a voice memo, always be mindful of your positioning. Which direction is your car facing? You always want to park on the street, never in a position where you can get blocked in. If you're in a cul-de-sac, I always like to face my car out of the cul-de-sac, meaning when I get in the car, I could just drive straight out of the cul-de-sac. And then when you're inside the home, you want to sit closest to a door as possible. You don't want to have your back facing the door. You want to be seated to where you can see if there's anyone who's going to be coming through the door. Now, when you initially contacted the client and let them know that you were going to be on your way, you should have asked, is there anyone who's going to be at the home, or if they're expecting anyone during the time of the visit. And that's always something that you can mention again when you get to the home. Is there anyone that you're expecting to come who will be joining us in the visit? If you're going into an apartment building, you always want to be mindful of where the exits are, where the doors are. And I always like to take the stairs when I go to an apartment building and really don't like to take the elevator. If it's a closed stairwell, I didn't typically like taking those either. So I would oftentimes take the elevator if it was a closed stairwell. But that would depend again if I had a coworker who had previously visited the apartment complex or how many times I had visited the client's home. But on all of this, you have to use your discretion and your best judgment. Always communicate with your supervisor if you have any concerns or any questions, and always maintain your safety first. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope that you found it helpful. If you did, please like, subscribe, or share it. I'll be uploading more videos to help you deepen your level of self-awareness and boost your competence and confidence in the profession. Thanks again so much for watching, and as always, be well.